Welcome back to Madame Tortuga's Lounge with your host, the neurodivergent, mentally ill, non-binary, polypan, pagan Pisces, Dottie the Psychic, a Metro Valley Pagan Pride affiliate. Hello, my dotlings, and welcome to another dot take. This is like my second one. I'm going to still be doing the shameless self-promotion videos, but I wanted to start doing this in between where I kind of talk about just the pagan community, things and stuff and things. That kind of like, this one is going to be about the occultea hashtag. Not about it, but this is my rendition on it. Like, I'm not going to go in and talk about all the other ones. Like, that would be interesting to talk about the phenomena of the hashtag, but I'm not there today. I got a list of the questions-ish, and we're going to roll with that. So, content warning, I am having a bad brain day. I don't know why my brain won't let me go do the laundry list of things that could do off camera. Instead, I'm hyper focused on this and I'm having a hard time breaking away, so it's easier sometimes just to get what productivity I can out of it than to try and make my brain go do something else. It is what it is. So there is probably going to be a lot of stuttering, a lot of describing things by what they do than by their name. I'm going to try and be careful about how I speak about things. There's probably going to be a lot of cut-ins from Future Dottie. Hi, Future Dottie.
Hi, Past Dottie. I have no idea when this was shot. Tried to reclaim some old footage and found this, so this could be entertaining or it could suck. I have no idea.
Cheers. Okay, so that's a content warning, y'all. I'm trying. Some people suffer from madness. I choose to enjoy mine. So the tea I'm drinking, chakra balancing tea, smells divine. It's from the Heart to Hand Serendipity shop in Mount Hope, West Virginia. If you ever get a chance to get down there, it's really great. If not, I'll try to leave her contact information below. But it's a little local shop, so I actually go there for their resource healing fair. They do kind of seasonally. It's pretty cool. Let's get to the hashtag. So I have written down, I have hand scratched down in my neurodivergent, in my ADHD flurry, I have written down the impression of the questions that I found on Instagram. That's where we are, folks.
Okay, so this footage is actually from like mid-June, and it's now like late September. And I realized part of the reason that I'd held on to this and kind of pushed through is that I have always kind of wanted to do a video about dealing with depression as a magical practitioner. And I think this is number one. I thought it was a pretty decent video. If y'all can get through the fact that I am speaking more slowly and then we're slurring my words a little bit more than normal. But I kind of wanted to somehow use this footage, keep it out there, so later on when I go to do this mental health and magic video, I have sort of a video 2.2, because I do think that there is a lot of neurodivergency, a lot of mental health issues in the pagan community that we as practitioners tend to gloss over. I definitely know that there is some serious issues in the New Age movement about glossing these kind of things over. So sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it with my whole chest. So here we go.
That's where we are, folks. So I've got about my practice and why I'm online. and how my community is affected. That's the 3 questions I got for like the first part, and then like the second part I actually like wrote down more questions, but I think there was like 4 or 5 parts, but this is where we are, so whatever. I'll just do what I can. About my practice. My practice is personal, really. That is something I do kind of keep personal. I don't keep it personal, though. I really don't. It's not... I don't know how to put this, because it's such an inherent part of my being that to keep it personal, I would have to just not be online. Which, this is another aspect of my creativity. So, I am an out and proud pagan, which is kind of an umbrella term, especially around here, because like I'm a local pagan leader, and in this community there are a lot of minority religions that kind of gather together. So, especially in this area, it kind of refers to anybody who's not of an Abrahamic faith. And there's a lot of people who will say, like, yeah, I'm a pagan, but I am XYZ. I am an omnist. I believe it is omnist. Essentially believing that all faith has some validity. Which is interesting, and most of them are really cool. I gotta say, like, you know, you try not to generalize a group, but most of the omnists I've met are just like, that's cool. Like, they're pretty open-minded, kind of awesome. You know, and you've got the heathens, like, they are also part of the pagan community. You know, all the different types of, like, folk magic, Appalachian folk practitioners. I call myself, I kind of call myself a chaos mage rather than a witch when I'm being like fussy, but I'm also a Pisces and I'm terrible with labels to begin with, so whatever you want to call my practice you can call it, but you're probably wrong. But I am a magical practitioner privately as a forward-facing, like, internet personality. Here, I'm just kind of a generic pagan. I don't want to talk about my personal practice as much on here, but more of, like, the social aspect of being pagan. That's kind of what this is about. It's about the community. On my other channel, my Dottie the Psychic channel, it's more geared towards divinatory practices and kind of briefly explaining how I think the universe works for more or less for clients, but also for everybody else who like just is interested in. I do a lot of costumes and stuff, or at least I did. It's been a while since I broke out. You know, I used to do full drag on there. I may go do that again. I really had a really cool death costume. I'm trying to get that back up and going. I have done a couple. The video, I did like one big video last year, and it just took so much out of me because it was such just an experience. Right. There was also some stuff behind the scenes that I may actually bring up here. So let's just get to it. That's what I was getting to. I was talking about my practice. And that's kind of who I am, where I am. You know, and then like on my Facebook and stuff, I probably put out way more like just leftist stuff than I do actual psychic and witch stuff, just because it's my personal page. Like on my business page, I promote a lot of local events and things, because ultimately that's where I live. You know, my local community is my community, way more than the internet community is my community. I do enjoy being a part of the internet community, and I have made a couple of friends off the internet community. And I do think that being on the internet has helped me to facilitate people coming off of the internet and meeting their local community where I am. because, it's one of those things where every pagan in the valley thinks they're the only pagan in the valley, and they go and start to meet other pagans who are well established in their practice and in the community, and they just don't know how it's a different world. It is a totally different community. And that's something I'd really like to talk about on this. That's part of the real tea here. Like, the real occult tea is that the internet community is not the same as your real ass community. Your IRL local community. And you're probably it may feel like you're alone in the valley, but hell, there's like so many that you probably don't know that you have a local community because oppression. I don't know how to put it better than that. Like, I've had protesters at events, so I can say that we do have a force that has made it uncomfortable to be public about being who we are, and it is difficult to advertise. Everybody's kind of doing this on cheap or free, and the things and the stuff and the things.
Y'all, 2 churches and a Dollar General makes a town here in West Virginia, and it is blood red. So, yeah, that sums up a whole lot of babbling. Vote Democrat.
Why am I on the internet? Okay, so if you watched my last occult tea video, that wasn't actually the hashtag, it was about a situation. I talked about Lady Gravedancer and finding her on YouTube. This is one of those things, I'll probably bring this up when we talk about grifters, that my real life story sounds made up in a little bit. Like, especially the way I tell it, because because I have found strength from it, there are aspects that I may have unintentionally. No, I didn't. I have to stop and do that because I still got some thoughts and feels about the way everything went down with my last marriage. But I'm in a whole new marriage that is actually healthy and amazing because my partner is just a phenomenal human being, whereas my ex-husband was an alcoholic. And so I was very isolated. And so I started to watch YouTube videos about magic because that was something that's been a part of my whole life. I'll talk about my whole life story. I've talked about it and deleted a few times, trying to get this thing started. And it's hard to talk about. I'm not going to go into a great big detail. Like, I'm sure I have. And I may just sit down and do the origin story one day and just like pin it so that I never feel like I have to. I just don't feel like I have to keep repeating myself to nobody. I mean, it's only people's business if I want it to be their business, right? Anyway, So essentially, I was in a dark space, in a bad marriage, and I was isolated. I was working night shift as a nurse, and so I would be either at the bar with his ass, drinking.
I want to clarify here, I was not drinking. In fact, I was the only sober one there, except for the bartender in a town that swapped the Dollar General out for a bar. Yeah.
I found Lady Gravedancer. And it's funny because she's popped up 3 times where she's actually really interacted with me, and each time that has made my life better, has made my videos better, and it's been an interesting experience. And so she's one of the few people that I was following at that time that didn't take a real weird turn. I watched Teal Swan, and some of her practices, I did the love water thing. Like, she's apparently stole it from somebody else. I don't know who. Way off topic. Editing, Dottie, you get to explain that shit. Good luck.
Wow, this is uncomfortable to watch. It's kind of interesting. Let me sum up basically what I'm trying to say. I was in a crap place in life. Started watching Lady Gravedancer. Thought that was cool. Thought I'd make my own video. That's how I ended up on the internet. And it's been a passion ever since because I kind of used that to leave said bad situation. but it's interesting to watch because I'm trying to cut out as little as possible, because I was going to use this as a mental health video because I know that I was getting ready to go into a depressive state looking back watching this. Even then I kind of felt it coming on, but to watch myself wriggle on a hook while trying to justify the toxicity of my feed 10 to 15 years ago is something I'm going to bring up in therapy. Wow, that's been interesting to watch, and we're gonna move on.
How my community is affected. Honestly, my community is affected because I found my community. Like, on one hand, here's the thing. I am a local pagan leader. I try to be anyway. I really do try to be a leader in my local pagan community. That is the thing I want to do. And a lot of that has come from trying to develop this character, Dottie the Psychic. I would say trying to be a leader in my community, because, and my local community. Online, I don't care anymore. I've reached a point in my thinking when it comes to the internet world, the pagan internet world, that I kind of got what I needed out of it, and I'd like to give back, but also I am done fighting against the algorithm. Like I'm ever going to make my money from that. I'm a local pagan. I am a professional psychic in my area. So that's kind of my practice. My personal magical practice, I do a lot of stuff with the community. I love to do community rituals, but I may or may not ever, they would have to have everybody's consent to put that on the internet. I may do a public ritual and see if we can get it on there. Like my nightly practices, I'm willing to talk about, but you're probably not going to catch me like busting out the camera and recording myself doing a whole ritual unless I'm trying to walk you through something, like a cleansing or spirit communication. So it is a pretty intricate part of my life, and it's very hard to kind of differentiate that just from my living. So I don't really, I'm a Pisces, I'm not good with labels. I'm not good at... So how does social media affect the magical community? For one thing, there's a greater magical community, because I know a lot of people who are still traditionalist witches, like in our area, and a lot of eclectic ones that have picked up books here and there, and that's how they came about to their practice. And on one hand, having a greater pagan community is really, having social media is phenomenal. It has brought magical practice to more people so that they know where to start to learn. When they have things going bump in the night, they can find those resources. I think it also helps that because you have at least some online community, you can have other people to reach out to. So if you end up in a dirty coven, or just let's say dirty coven, like semi-cult like group, then you can see, like, you can go on and be like, is this narcissistic behavior? Like, is this a cult? So that's great, because there's more knowledge out there, and the more knowledgeable we are, the less likely we are to be taken advantage of. So I have to put that out there. And like I said, the social media, that's how I was able to find magic again after being isolated. It's also how our communities in real life will connect through Facebook and things like that. So there is definitely a positive element there. I do see where people put too much of themselves on the internet, and then other people act in just a base manner. There is this tendency for people to treat other people that they're not in direct contact with as not being human. You think about it, all the people who say mean stuff to telemarketers or talk crap to their computers and things like that. And I do believe that there is a tendency there to treat people online as machines rather than as people. So that's a thing that's there, and it's definitely affecting people's psyche. Hungry. There's also an interesting aspect where people will they'll make the jump from studying magic online, learning their practice from online, and then going to a real life meeting with other magical practitioners in the area. And so you have this new person who comes in, thinks that they know way more than they do, has absorbed a lot of, I won't say inappropriate messaging, but because you never know exactly where they're coming from. But they may have picked up on things that are not going to fit in the local culture. I don't know how to put this in the most neutral way possible, because it can become a sticking point. You know, I have a respected elder in the community that has said, like, I've had teenagers come up and tell me that I'm a bigot. I'm like, I was part of the civil rights movement from the 1990s, so not me, but this person. So, like, there's definitely just a disconnect. And one of the things that I think that building a strong local community helps with is to, number one, educate the elders and the people who are in the community about how to handle these TikTok witches, and so that they will be more apt to integrate into the real life community, because I really think that that's where we're strongest. I think everybody should have a real life community that is not on the camera. Like, it's nice to have this as a tool, but it should not encompass more of your life than your real life, as she said, as she noted how much of herself she put on the camera. Never fear the mirror. We're moving on. Okay, folks? I'm gonna have me a chip. So the next question I have on here is, how much do I stage? The gods are laughing at me. Or at least the sink is. There's a knee-jerk reaction that I want to have here, because this does feel like an authenticity question. And I just want to point out, like, just who is going to get on here and tell you that they are a liar? I honestly just want to know. We'll talk about grifters in a minute. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What I stage is a lot. I also don't stage very much at all. Like, depending on how you want to look at it. The videos where I'm doing tessiomancy and osteomancy, that's 100% staged. I did research. I set up my camera shots. I really work to build a story and an educational bit of theatrical work, for lack of better words. I mean, I'm proud of it. And then on the other hand, I have things like this, where yes, I am definitely going to edit out a whole lot of stuttering, a whole lot of starting into an idea that I haven't fully formed, and even some things that I have said that I may not be comfortable with, and then I need to kind of sit back in that discomfort and examine whether I am saying those from a place of hurt or if it's an issue that should be addressed. What do you mean by staged? Like, obviously, like my videos on death are literally staged. I had a plot line, a script, research, resources. Go check it out. It's on my other channel, Dottie the Psychic. On the other hand, I've got Speak in My Piece, which I think that's what I called it. I hope that's what I called it. I'll look that up later. I don't remember what I called it. But basically the one that was about all the legislation to try and make trans people illegal that was going on in my state, none of that was staged. None of that was staged. Even the parts where I'm talking in retrospect were, well, maybe edited. Definitely edited. Were not premeditated. Like, I was telling a story that had happened. I do provide the services that I say I provide, and when I do that, I put real work and effort into them. There is absolutely nothing that, I mean, staged as in prepared for? Yes. Staged as in fake? No. So what do you mean when you say something as being staged? Did I stage making the cup of tea? Of course I did. I had to set up my camera, get different shots, and I love that stuff. I love B-roll. I do not understand necessarily why I'm having an emotional response to this, except that I have been in a working relationship, not like I knew the guy, he was gay. He was not interested in me, like, you know. But a professional relationship with somebody whose reputation was so bad that it affected my reputation. And I know that I am a bit of a showman. So people think I got the stink of a grifter on me when the truth is I just forgot to shower. Neurodivergency, isn't it fun? Like, I literally showed up. Yeah. Like, I mean, and like even a public ritual. When you go to a public ritual, I don't know, I'm one of these people, I don't like to bring a script into the circle. I think you're better off just keeping it a simple circle. But even that is in some way like premeditated, but you're doing real magic. I'm not doing magic on film. If that's the question, I don't really, like, if you see me lighting a candle and doing stuff on here, I'm probably not actually working the spell while I'm doing it. I think I may have once or twice, but I'm not real comfortable with that. I'll be glad to maybe do a walkthrough where I would do something that would look like that, but I would still be more explaining it and doing it like this, like, hey, try this, do that, rather than actually doing the magic myself. I do personally censor myself, obviously. Not really. I say fuck all the time. I do think that I have in some ways been censored just because, I mean, I've got 374 subscribers on my main channel and 100 on this one. So the algorithm may not be intentionally censoring me, but I have done something to anger them, and it is what it is. I do know that I actually did get censored, straight up censored on the last video, whatever hashtag nonsense, because I did make it clickbaity. I made it clickbaity. I knew it did. I know I did. because I made it clickbaity, the algorithm thought that I was a bot, and I had to go through this whole thing where I proved that I was real with censorship. I just said censorship. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not big enough for anybody to worry about. I have had like copyright strike, not strike, warning, whatever it is when they tell you like to just cover up the music. That's it. That's the only thing I've had to deal with. Censorship from the general community. They would have to watch my videos for me to get that kind of flack, and I'd probably ignore it because I'm more interested in my real life community. So I don't have an opinion on censorship. Honestly, actually, I take that back because I kind of do, because this is something that in the real world we do, but we don't think about it. Because if we got a shop out in the middle of nowhere, the first thing I'm going to do is tell them that you should probably put your spicy stuff in the back room. If it's got a pentagram, or if it's, you put your crystals and your pretty necklaces and your tapestries that don't have any big symbols on them in the front, and you have a back room for all your magical stuff, and everybody I've ever told that to completely ignored me, and one of them's fine. Actually doing really good. There's a shop in Spencer, Hecate's Helpers. If you're ever in Spencer, West Virginia, you should check her out. It's an amazing store. Grifters. Okay.
So apparently, talking about grifting is enough to break me, and I may not even complete that section because apparently I got thoughts and feels. I may have to do a whole ass video on it. I think I already have. It was the scammers video. It's on my main channel, Dottie the Psychic. That's Dottie the Psychic. Before you leave, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for me. It's been interesting to watch myself kind of go through that kind of rough day from this side, because knowing basically what was going on and seeing it from the outside, it's been interesting. It's kind of inspired me to make more videos because apparently I seem to have done better the longer the video goes on. So that's something to consider. It's interesting. It is interesting. Oh, I can't just help not. I want to answer this question about grifters because I think it's funny that the community that it seems to be coming out of seems to be less grifty. I'm not saying it is griftless. I have met a grifter in that space or two. There's definitely some grifters, but it is not the griftiest of spaces in grand spiritual YouTube. Certainly, like, the hashtag witchy community, while not immune, does seem to require enough socialization of its members to avoid the cult-like behavior that is going on in, like, the spiritual YouTube circles. If you know, you know. I don't know if I cut it out or not, and I am not going back to watch, but I used to watch Teal Swan. You know, the one they made the Netflix series about? Yeah, her. And that's kind of what's going on. So there's definitely the hashtag witchy group, the pagan community that is kind of behaving more like a community. And of course there are people who are in that community that, while I do believe in some ways they believe in what they are saying, they're also saying what they need to be relevant. Whereas in the other side, like the spiritual YouTube, where you've got the beginnings of cults, very much, like I said, Teal Swan that's how I found her, and she definitely, there's, the difference kind of is, the witchy pagan community is like, how can we live life better? Whereas in like the spiritual community is kind of trying to deep dive into their own psyche and have fallen out the other side into the great void, and there is no bottom, but there is somebody who is willing to tell you how to save your own soul and by following them and giving them all of your money. I do think there is also like some really helpful meditation tips. And I think the big difference is partially like a lot of the witchy community is not not professionally metaphysical community. Like, I think a lot of people, like, they're making their money off of their YouTube videos, or they have real jobs. Some of them are selling spell components, but essentially it's still very much like the pieces have to all be semi-compatible to be part of the community. There's some social norm enforced. Whereas the spiritual community has a lot of, well, I mean, they're just trying to define the indefinable, which, I mean, like, that could go in all the directions there are to go, and there's no bottom, on, like, one hand, but also there's, like, the whole spiritual section. I would say the enlightenment, that would be more like the super enlightened spiritual ones, and then, like, the mediumship psychic section, where there's definitely, like, where it is more of a profession. And you have people who are grifting, who are doing the grift not because that's where they want to be, but they started off believing in what they were doing and kind of got burnt out and haven't left to find something better to do with their lives. You know, they're making their living off of being a professional psychic, even though they're having trouble reaching that light anymore, because I don't know how to describe it. Burnout. Metaphysical burnout. Psychic, spiritual burnout. And like any other burnout, if you try to just push through a burnout, you just turn to dust in a way. And I think that is definitely something I have seen occur. I've definitely seen people who are like, oh, I see where I can make some money. I actually did a pretty decent video on this kind of subject. It's over on my main channel, DOTTIE, the Psychic. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe before you go. But I do think, like, I don't know. That's my bit on it. I'm not here to I'm not going to answer that question properly. I just want to say that there is, like, you know, because there's new psychics who don't know what they're doing, and they can be a little weird. Not necessarily grifty, but, like, they're just pouring a lot of personal gnosis out there because they're super excited about what they're finding. There are people who are burnt out, who are, you know, they take this on as a profession, and they kind of run out of inspiration and are just putting things together to make a paycheck. There are people who get into it to make money, by any means necessary. There are people who, I think, in some ways buy their own bullshit. I've definitely seen that. I do think that this, like, the greater spiritual community is always going to be more vulnerable to that because of the nature of the subject. And the fact that it is not something we can necessarily prove. Like, you can't, like, they're accrediting bodies to be a doctor. There's never going to be one accrediting body to tell you whether you can talk to ghosts or not. Like, you can or you can't. you know, there's never going to be an accrediting body that's going to be able to, like, sit down and really promise that this person is actually talking to a spirit, but that person is reading the room really, really well. Just, and I mean, like, you know, the mentalism. There's no real answer there. That's what I got. Don't forget to check out my other YouTube channel or my website, dottiephpsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.